My anxiety started as a child. I had no idea what to do about it. I didn't know who to turn to. And so I think, once I was like nearing the end of secondary school, that's when I started to go to my GP and I said, "Hey, I think I have anxiety. I'm really struggling. I'm not coping with these feelings. I need help." And so they offered me therapy. And so I started therapy in year 12. So when I was in year 12, I started CBT therapy. So let me get my definition of CBT therapy. But basically, CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. It is a short-term, goal-focused therapy that helps you identify and change unhelpful thoughts and behaviors. Like I said, thoughts of like, I'm not good enough, or I'm shit at this, or, these unhealthy thoughts that trigger this response in you. Behaviors. So again, when I was a child, like pacing up and down and coming home from school and going into the living room and just sitting down and waiting hours for my mum to come back before I go and use the toilet, take off my uniform and all of that. So that's a behavior. So it's like reprogramming your brain to literally recognize that this is not a threat. It's okay. And so I started that therapy through CAMS, the CAM service in Hackney. So this was when I was 18. No, I wouldn't have been 18. I think I might have been younger than that because that service ends when you're 18. So I think it was between 16 to 18 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But at the time, I didn't feel like it was the right therapy for me as a whole. I think it would have been good if it was just anxiety that I was dealing with. But because I was also struggling with depression, I felt like I needed something more intense or deeper or just something different for me. Because the thing is about therapy, it's not one size fits all. It doesn't work for everyone. There are different types of therapy. There's CBT, psychodynamic, which I also had later on. Is it EMDR or something like that, which is eye movement something. There's literally different types of therapy that you can go for. The two most common, or at least the two that I know, CBT and psychodynamic therapy. Psychodynamic therapy is basically more to get to the root of the problem, to go deeper. So that kind of therapy, the therapist would ask you questions to trigger a thought process so that you start to understand the deeper wounds and everything. Might not be for everyone because the therapist doesn't talk as much. Like they give you prompts, like they ask you questions so that you can find the solution, which I feel like I needed at the time because of my depression.